I can.
Excellent. We just have a couple minutes to go. And Alderperson Abel is going to be absent and excused. I don't know if you saw the email.
Okay,
I forwarded it to you just shortly.
perfect. Great.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It looks like we have 8 alders in the room, maybe 9. We have 10 total. Thank you. I'm expecting to hear the door any second now. You just drive right by and let them keep walking.
Well, no, well, I know Phil, he would not get in a car.
With you or in general?
Especially with.
Double cell.
What did you say, Brett?
It's a double cell, you know.
Oh, see, there's the door. Yeah, we called it. All good, all good. Let me know when you're ready. You ready? All right.
I'm ready.
You ready? All right. Good evening. We'll call the meeting to order. It's Tuesday, June 23rd of 2026. This is the Stoughton City Council meeting, and the first order of business would be the roll call.
Caravello,
Here.
Wozniak Scanlon,
Here.
Sherlucky,
Here.
Hirsch,
Here.
Jensen,
Here.
Tillison,
Caffeinated.
Reeves,
Here.
Butler,
Here.
Schumacher,
Here.
Viano,
Here.
Abel,
Absent and excused.
Nina.
Here.
We have 11 alders present and 1 absent and excused.
All right, and thank you for filling in tonight. Appreciate it, Tanya. Okay, next order of business is we are certified in compliance with open meeting laws, so we can go to a public hearing. We have a public hearing scheduled for, has to do with special assessments. So we would close our regular meeting and reopen for the public hearing. Is anybody here wish to speak at the public hearing regarding special assessments, which is like sidewalks or curbs and that sort of thing? Not hearing anybody, anything we need to cover? No? All right, so we'll close the public hearing, and then we'll open up for our regular business. And the first item would be our public comment. So we have several people that have signed up to speak. We have others that went online and signed up and chose not to speak. So we'll go through, basically, I'll keep the time, it's 3 minutes. And then if there's anybody that I missed at the end, as long as I have your name and your address, you'll be allowed to speak. So we'll go in the order that I think I received them. Some of them came in last week already. Is Victoria here? Yeah. Okay, you're first. So you come up to the microphone and you're gonna push a button and things are gonna turn red, kind of like my microphone is, and then you'll know that you have a hot mic, and you can adjust the gooseneck if you'd like.
Awesome, thank you.
All right, and whenever you're ready, you can start.
Yeah, I had found out about the flock cameras, and that's what I came to speak on today, that we had made a contract with them. That is an AI-supported technology, and that's really what gets to the heart of my issue. The Midwest is a battleground right now for AI data centers. Beaver Dam and other areas are having issues trying to fight back that sort of things. Southern Illinois, or Southern Wisconsin, Illinois. Anyway, we all know what's happening, and all the surveillance issues aside that I'm sure people will bring up and we'll love to talk about it, I feel like that part gets swept under the rug, that there is a huge cost to those AI technologies that is not taken into account when we consider the type of things that we want in our cities. And I'll be honest, we lived in Chicago, LA, like, all right, maybe we could talk, but we live in Stoughton, you know, this cute little town I've lived in. It's a really weird take. And I just hope we think about the entire cost behind the installing that sort of infrastructure and systems here. So that's just all I want to say.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
And then next is Lori here? Welcome.
Thank you.
And you can just leave the mic on when you're done, that's fine.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you. Good evening. My name is Lori Fordy Herkis, and I'm here to urge you to end the use of flock cameras in our community. Before we create a surveillance system that records the movements of thousands of law-abiding residents, we should ask a simple question. What problem are we solving that justifies it? How many serious crimes in Stoughton have actually gone unsolved because we didn't have this technology? We're told these cameras are about public safety. We're told there are safeguards. We're told local agencies control the data. But real-world experience tells a different story. Right here in Wisconsin, a Milwaukee police officer was charged after allegedly using flock cameras 179 times to track a woman he was dating. Across the country, officers and even police chiefs have used license plate reader systems to stalk former romantic partners and conduct unauthorized personal searches. Abuse isn't hypothetical, it's already happened. In Mountain View, California, officials shut down their flock cameras after discovering federal agencies had accessed local data. Even the police chief apologized to the residents. In San Francisco, an audit uncovered nearly 300 improper searches involving federal and out-of-state agencies. And in Evanston, Illinois, officials ended their contract over concerns about immigration-related surveillance and data sharing. Communities that thought they were buying a local public safety tool discovered they had become part of a nationwide surveillance network. At the same time, Flock had also repeatedly changed its contract language regarding customer data, raising concerns about who ultimately controls residents' information. And that's why communities around us are walking away. As of June, Dane County, Verona, Fitchburg, Monona, Oshkosh, and Sturgeon Bay have ended or declined to renew their Flock contracts. Appleton's in the process of ending its use, and McFarland halted plans altogether to purchase the cameras. After Verona ended its contract, Mayor Lucas Diaz said the cameras were covered so they would stop spying on people. These communities reviewed the technology and concluded that the trade-off wasn't worth it. That should give us all pause. Every surveillance technology can point to success stories. The more important question is whether those benefits outweigh the documented risks of misuse, unauthorized access, expanding surveillance, and the loss of local control. Supporters are asking us to trust that these problems won't happen here. But communities across the country trusted that officers wouldn't misuse the system. They trusted that local data would remain under control. They trusted that the rules wouldn't change. And many later discovered that those assurances weren't true. The burden shouldn't be on residents to prove that this surveillance system is dangerous. The burden should be on those proposing it to prove that it is necessary. Given the documented misuse, the loss of local control, and the experiences of the many communities that have already walked away, I don't believe that burden has or can be met. End the contract and take down the cameras. Thank you.
Thank you. With 5 seconds to spare, that's pretty good. All right, next up is Michelle here. All right, Michelle online? Okay, we'll keep going then. How about Karen?
Do I have to tap the button? I'm good? Okay. Good evening. My name is Karen Laum, and I am a Stoughton resident. The recent installation of flock cameras in Stoughton made clear that we need more transparency in decision-making from elected Stoughton leadership and the Stoughton Police Department on issues that affect not only public safety, but also the rights and privacy of everyone who lives in Stoughton or works in or visits our city. The Stoughton public was caught off guard by the recent installation of flock cameras here. We only became aware of this issue when cameras were installed in Stoughton in the past month. It is not clear if the full city council and the mayor were aware of the new the new flock contract for Stoughton. I am not aware of any public announcement or public forum held by the police department or city council prior to the execution of the contract or installation of the cameras. It is perplexing and concerning that Stoughton would choose to install flock cameras at the very same time that Dane County discontinued its flock contract and covered and then removed their cameras at the beginning of June 2026. And neighboring cities and villages like Oregon, McFarland, Fitchburg, and Verona are discontinuing contracts or choosing not to contract with flock over strong citizen opposition and local leadership concerns about the company's practices and violations of privacy and rights. I would like to know who in Stoughton leadership made the decision to contract with flock, why the public was kept in the dark, and importantly, who is responsible now for how Stoughton's flock cameras are used and what happens to the information they collect about all of us. We need to be clear that flock cameras are not simply automated license plate readers. Flock cameras are different. They allow mass surveillance of everyone, gather information constantly, not just on license plates, use artificial intelligence, and feed our data to a searchable system that can be accessed broadly, including by the federal government, for undefined purposes without warrants. Citizens can be monitored in ways that infringe on our rights. Given the new landscape we are all living in, we need active engagement by the full Stoughton City Council and Mayor in contracting decisions and partnerships with private companies selling surveillance tools and with the federal government if that applies. Further, all Stoughton residents, all of us, must be recognized as stakeholders in this issue. We deserve to have a say in decisions regarding mass surveillance of our community, our privacy and our rights, and the use of our taxpayer dollars for these purposes. I do not believe that flock cameras belong in Stoughton. I believe this contract should be terminated and the contract should be removed. Thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you. Next up would be Sean.
Good evening, Alders. My name is Sean, and I reside here in Stoughton with my family. I'm here to ask you to take accountability for the appearance of flock AI cameras in our community. A teacher of mine once helped me understand that word, accountability, and she taught me that what that really means is bringing together your values and the actions that you take and making sure that those things are in alignment. So I want to talk to you about one of my core values, and I'm really trusting that you share this value with me. That value is justice. Justice demands not only that we treat each and every one of our neighbors with dignity and respect and care, justice also demands that every time we make a decision, we look at that decision and ask, is this going to, on one hand, contribute to the long history of discrimination and oppression that runs through our country and our state and our county and our city? Or is this decision going to uplift freedom for all of us? The installation of flock AI cameras in Stoughton fails, I think, on both of these accounts. Contributing in any way to the construction of a massive, unaccountable, AI-driven private database of innocent and unaccused people's locations and movements is both anti-immigrant and anti-Black. And if you don't already agree with that, I think that's okay. There's like several things that I would ask you to consider that I trust will bring you closer to agreement with me on that position. The ACLU is full of resources. Since at least 2022, the ACLU has been following flock AI and the way that their systems infringe on people's civil rights. There's particularly for Black and Latino folks. There's also a really outstanding study from the University of North Carolina that shows that just the mere presence of cameras taking still or videos of people in public decreases the trust that Black and Latino folks have in the police department There's a 404 media investigation that uncovered all of the ways that, despite what Flock says publicly, and many police departments say publicly, the fact is that federal officers and agents are able to access a lot of the Flock data. But I think the most important thing you can do is go and talk to our Black and Latino neighbors and friends and ask them what they think about having these cameras installed. A vote to maintain Flock AI in Stoughton is a vote against justice. Please do the right thing by us, your neighbors and constituents. Refuse to allow any form of AI mass surveillance in our community. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next up would be Kristen.
Good evening. I really appreciate your attention on this issue. I spoke to you last week. I'm a resident of Stoughton, and I'm going to start with a quote by Dennis Kucinich, who says that the danger of our age is not merely that authority may concentrate in governments, corporation, or military institutions. It is that decisions of profound consequence may increasingly be delegated to technological systems that operate beyond the understanding and oversight of those whom the Constitution entrusts with governing. This statement was made by Dennis Kucinich, warning against the 2027 National Defense Authorization Act. And the statement is frighteningly relevant as we face the deployment of Flock technology in our community and across the country. It is unclear who was at the table when Stoughton bought into Flock's sales pitch, directed at both police departments and homeowners associations across the country as technology designed for public safety. The most recent treasurer's report has a line item showing payment of $12,500 to Flock Group on May 28, 2026. The expense was reported, but the decision to sign a contract and include Stoughton in what is in fact a national surveillance data network was not discussed with or by our city council. To know whose flock we unknowingly joined and gain a better understanding of what the technology is intended to achieve, I wanted to know who was behind it. I learned that Flock's investor base includes Founders Fund, led by Peter Thiel, who also co-founded Palantir, a company funded in its early days by In-Q-Tel, the CIA's own venture capital arm. Palantir doesn't sell to neighborhoods. It sells intelligence to data fusion tools directly to ICE, the Department of Homeland Security, and the Pentagon. Another major Flock investor, Andreessen Horowitz, runs a dedicated fund called American Dynamism, focused on defense, policing, and border security startups, and lobbies actively in Washington to shape the policy around them. That same firm backs Anduril, whose autonomous towers now surveil nearly a third of the US-Mexico border under contract with Customs and Border Protection. Andreessen has also built a reputation as one of the most active funders of startups founded by alumni of Israeli military intelligence units. When we adopt Flock, we're plugging our city streets into a capital network that channels its biggest investments into the surveillance, defense, and immigration enforcement apparatus of the federal government and beyond. My pastor, Wendy Moan of Covenant Lutheran, offered a prayer this Juneteenth. In it, she said, "Freedom is a responsibility." An AI-supported surveillance data network whose investors also fund similar technology used by the CIA, the Pentagon, DHS, and ICE is a threat to core constitutional freedoms, not someday, but now, already running on our streets, and it is our responsibility to understand this. It's our responsibility to end the contract. Thank you.
Thank you. And next is Carrie.
Hi. My name is Carrie Kilman, and I live at 211 Brixton Street. Most people know that police can record in public. The Fourth Amendment does not prevent that. But Flock cameras are not basic street cameras. They are automated, AI-enabled systems that continuously identify, track, and analyze movements across entire cities. They record where you go, they record who you meet, they record what routines you have. They record how often you visit certain locations. The grocery store, for example, the doctor's office, your child's school. They know if your vehicle frequently appears in the vicinity of someone else's. They catalog incredibly granular details, such as paint damage, bumper stickers, and aftermarket wheels. They can be used to track and identify people according to Flock's own training videos and multiple independent tests of its systems. They store and connect huge amounts of data over time, basically generating a detailed pattern of life for anyone who passes in front of a lens. To search a Flock network, police do not need a warrant, probable cause, or even reasonable suspicion. They only need to list a brief reason for their search. In Wisconsin, according to public records available online, some of the reasons listed by police have included political event intel, Trump rally, demonstration, immigration, civil/administrative, image download, and simply investigation. All of this amounts to an unacceptable erosion of our Fourth Amendment rights. Recording in public is not the problem. Turning entire cities into searchable databases of people's daily lives is. I would like to know why this decision was made without any public knowledge, input, or consent. I would like to know why any discussion regarding a contract with Flock was kept out of public meetings, and whether an intentional effort was made to avoid public scrutiny. I would like to know why a Flock camera is pointed directly at the only entrance and exit to the Cascade Falls apartment complex parking lot. And I would like to know whether any other agreements exist between the City of Stoughton and mass surveillance companies. The issue is not whether police can observe what happens in public. The issue is whether residents should be subjected to constant, automatic tracking without transparency, public debate, or meaningful consent. I urge you to cancel the Flock contract and take the cameras down. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is Mary.
Hi, my name is Mary. I am a citizen in the town of Stoughton, and I'm also a local therapist. I understand that we're going to have a presentation from the Stoughton Police Department later today regarding the use of Flock cameras, and I have a couple of questions that I want to pose both to City Council and to the Stoughton Police Department that I hope they will answer in their presentation later, just for understanding of why these cameras were utilized. So as a therapist in Stoughton, I have maybe a unique perspective and understanding on the concept of issues with data collection, storage, access, and usage, and issues of consent. And that's specifically what I want to talk about with the usage of Flock cameras today. So my understanding, based on reading the Flock website, is that a contract with Flock is a contract with a third-party vendor. Anytime that we have a contract with a third-party vendor, this includes us as therapists with systems like Epic or Simple Practice, which are commonly used by us today as electronic health record systems, we do not have 100% ownership of that data. That's an impossibility the second that we involve a third-party vendor. That's a huge concern in this case when we're talking about surveillance that's happening to citizens who have not consented to the usage of that technology. It means that access and use of that data has to be regulated internally. And that poses several significant problems. One is that those cameras are essentially owned and operated, installed, and if the contract is terminated, uninstalled and reclaimed by Flock. We don't own those cameras, and we don't own 100% of the data that is collected by those cameras. Flock's own website makes it very clear that, quote, our customers decide how the system is used and who can access it. So my first question is, does the Stoughton Police Department or the City of Stoughton have policies in place regarding when and where and how officers have access to Flock camera data? How long is that data stored for? That is determined by the customer, not by Flock, per their own website. It's already been discussed that it requires very, very little to access the Flock camera system and to search its database, and all that is required is a simple search term. Per the Wisconsin Examiner, they did an audit of data collected between January 1st of 2025 and May 28th of 2025, and they found that the top terms for several state of Wisconsin police departments included simply investigation, wanted, and a single period, punctuation mark. West Allis Police Department used a single period as the search reason over 1,200 times, and 6 other agencies were also found to use this as a search term. So my second question is, what policies does Stoughton Police Department have in place regarding the use of search terms? How will this be monitored and enforced? What policies does Stoughton Police Department have in place regarding the sharing of data with other agencies? This is also a major concern when it comes to secondary release. We don't do that in mental health. We don't have secondary release of information, but that's not the case in the use of flock cameras. That can be released to other agencies, and those agencies can release that data, and over and over and over again, the ownership sort of spirals out of control. So I would urge the removal of these cameras and the termination of this contract. At the very least, if the questions that I've posed today were not already outlined clearly and comprehensively in written policy, I would seriously urge the covering and disuse of these cameras until such time as council and the police department can collaboratively reevaluate the use of these cameras. Thank you.
Thank you. Will?
Hello, my name is Will Clifton, and I am a member of Stoughton, the city of Stoughton. I live here. I am wearing a shirt intentionally tonight that says, "Make Orwell fiction again." And I'm wearing this because this is hitting me hard, very hard, about this. Yes, sadly, ironically, I graduated in 1984. And at the time, they were using the Social Security number on our student IDs and realized the implications of that and withdrew it. I think about the drones that are used. Of course, we cleaned up our trails with the drones, yes. And I think about the body cameras that officers wear and the use of that for particular incidents that are being monitored and the importance of that, and home cameras and cameras in businesses. I feel like we're entering a different era now. We are now in a phase where, sadly, Orwell named it, Big Brother is watching you. Big Brother is watching you in everything you do now. What are the implications of that for all of us? Why are we doing this so quickly? Why are we going along with this? The ramifications of this blow my mind, I'll be honest with you. I think you've heard some exceptional shared information and questions, terribly important. Just on a personal level, this makes me shake. It really does, as a citizen. What is happening? What are we doing? There, I had to put it out. That's my fear as a citizen here, with going forward with not truly understanding who's controlling this and how it's going to be utilized. Please, let's wake up. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, is Michelle here?
Yes.
Excellent.
Hi, my name is Michelle. I too have the same worries as everyone else has so clearly stated. Again, I especially am curious as to what policies are in place currently that our law enforcement here in Stoughton currently use. Are there standard operating procedures regarding how this data can be reviewed and used? And I'm glad to hear about this later today. There's been so many police departments throughout the country that have misused this information. In Wisconsin, an officer searched outside of his jurisdiction 400 times for his ex-wife's license plate. In Joplin, Missouri, another officer was caught stalking his ex-partner. People have been documented crossing borders to get crossing a state border to get an abortion in a state where it is legal when it's not legal in their own state. There's just so much potential for misuse without guidelines in place. And I think if it's already being misused at this point, think about the potential for misuse from bad actors, from hackers, from people from other countries being able to steal our data. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Okay, that's all I had on my list, but if there's anybody else here that wishes to speak, I just need a name and an address for our files. How you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Good. Good to see
Excellent. Good. My name is Jason Atkins. I live at 2309 Autumn Crest over by Racetrack Park. I don't have anything prepared. I actually didn't even know why you came here today. Sarah right there had mentioned she was going to be at city council. I'm like, oh, cool, I'll go see Sarah. That was it. But like, this is like, kind of feels like the fight for our lives, you know what I'm saying? And I could have some words on a piece of paper, or I could just speak from my heart, so I'm going to speak from my heart. We're given 3 minutes to fight for our children, and to fight for our families, and to fight for ourselves, and to fight for you. You have all the time in the world when it is your job to care. If you don't know why the flock cameras are up, then you are fundamentally disconnected from your job. And I'm not trying to be like throw shade or anything. I know we're all just trying to live through this. But this is community. And you are leaders. Who are you leading? Because nobody here, sorry, I hit my nose. Nobody here wants it. And if any of you had spoken to any normal human being out here, they probably also would have said, I don't want that. And whoever's idea it was to do this probably didn't think very much because it was just an option. Oh, cool, there's a contract, I can get some incentives if I do that. Sure, let me do that. That is not leading, that is inertia. And inertia has gotten us where we are. Are you a one-time, first-time alderperson or police chief or whatnot? Or have you been doing this for 20 years? Or have you been doing it for 40 years? You have seen where we came from, so you should see where we're going. I am a nobody. I have no ability to affect change beyond the words that I'm speaking, and you've given me 3 minutes to speak them. I didn't prepare them. This is just what's coming out of my mouth. I love this town. I love my children, and I love your children too. Instead of giving them a place to be, you would put cameras to watch them to make sure they're safe. Safe from what? None of them leave their homes. None of them they have nowhere to be. If you love your children, and if you're looking to the future for your children, thank you, then these aren't questions that nobody, Jason Atkins, should be stream of consciousness saying at a city council meeting that he only came to meet a friend. These are just the words that have been moved out of me. What words want to move out of you? We haven't heard from any one of you today yet. Not about what you feel. And I think that that's what we all need to hear. That's what we want to hear from the police chief to say, oh, well, I wanted the flock cameras because I wanted to make sure our families are safe. That is admirable. But what do you lose by putting a camera up at only the people that look like me? And then say, I'm trying to keep you safe. I'm trying to keep my people safe. I look at the pictures on the walls. There isn't a single person that looks like me. And these are the people who have supported and led this town the entire time the town has existed. If I don't belong, tell me now, I'll leave. But I never felt that before. These words are coming out of my mouth right now. If they matter to you, then do something. Change something about what you're doing. If you feel I've been pretty disconnected with this, get reconnected with that. Go outside and then shake in one of the amazing parks. I'm sorry, I know I'm over my 30 seconds. Those things only exist when there are people happily jaunting about. And if people feel like they can't go outside because now there's more cameras everywhere. We aren't Stoughton anymore, we're anything. We're just meat puppets. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else wish to speak?
Hello, my name is Lars Forty. I'm a citizen. Everybody has spoken so eloquently, I can't say anything else aside from think of the financial aspect you all are going to make. Okay? I'm from Yahara Bay Distilleries. We've been working with you, Mayor. Remember me? Very concerning information I've learned here. It will affect our decision on if we want to work with the city of Stoughton. Have a good day.
Anybody else wish to speak? Okay, we'll get set up for the presentation. Hopefully you'll find it informative. I asked the police chief to put something together so we could at least have a starting point of kind of where we're at and how we got here and perhaps where we might go with this. We don't expect any decisions tonight, but we wanted to get some information out. So it'll just take me a second to cue this up.
Mayor, can we make sure that the presentation is also in the packet?
Sure.
Thank you.
All right, you want to test out the clicker?
We're actually not even going to use the PowerPoint for my part.
Okay.
So we'll get to it in a little bit.
Okay, go ahead, Chief.
I'm Brandon Hill. I'm the Chief of Police for the City of Stoughton. I'm here at the request of the Mayor and President Schumacher to give you guys a presentation about ALPRs, Automatic License Plate Reading Cameras, and our contract with Flock. So does the Stoughton Police Department have a contract with Flock? Yes, we do. That contract was signed last December. The cameras were put in about 3 or 4 weeks ago. That's when the public started seeing them, and we started all getting emails and correspondence and things like that. A little bit prior to that, a couple of the alders had some questions about our contract with Flock. We gave a smaller presentation to them. I apologize for the ones who've already seen this. It's going to be very similar. The presentation is going to be 3 parts. I'm going to give a little bit of the history of Stoughton and ALPRs. Then Detective Sergeant Cole Sargent and Lieutenant O'Neill, there are points of contact with Flock. They helped set up this program. They oversee the program. They oversee our policies, things like that. They're going to go through a PowerPoint that will explain what Flock is, what Flock does, what we can see, what we can't see, how we're using it, and safeguards that are within our policies and how we use those. Then Attorney Manthe, he's reviewed our contract with Flock. He'll be able to provide input as far as if he has any legal concerns with it or his interpretation of this contract. I've heard all of the public's concerns today. I've heard them through numerous emails, voicemails. I've had people talking to me in person. I'm confident that the majority of those concerns will be answered by our presentation today. So I ask you all to pay attention. We were told we've only got 10 minutes, so we're going to try and fly through this. I apologize, we'll probably go a little bit over. So the one big question is, did the alders know that we were signing a contract with Flock? And the answer to that is no. The answer to that is no is because Flock is a provider of automatic license plate reader cameras. The City of Stoughton's had ALPRs in the City of Stoughton since 2019. We started discussing them in 2018. We got a grant from the Bryant Foundation and put up our first one in 2019. We then budgeted for, which would have gone through council and elected officials, and added another camera and a automatic license plate reader that was mounted on our squad cars. So as that squad car patrolled the city of Stoughton, we were collecting license plate data. This isn't something new. At that time, we were in a contract with what was called the BOSS system. It's a competitor with Flock. We learned last year it was going out of business. So we needed to switch vendors for this tool that we've used now for 8 years. Based upon our research we did with the IT department, we found Flock as what we believed the best provider for what we were looking for and entered into that contract with them. There was a ton of research done on it that'll be gone over in a little bit. I ask that if you have questions, let us get through our 3 parts of the presentation. I found often, especially with PowerPoint presentations, that somebody asks a question and it's the next slide. Let us get through that. We'll then take questions from alders. Okay? Cool.
It doesn't look like it's working, so I'll just say next slide and you can switch for me.
Just give me the signal and I'll advance it for you.
Sure. Mr. Mayor, alders, concerned citizens, good evening. Thank you for allowing us to present tonight. My name is Cole Sargent. I'm a detective sergeant with the City of Stoughton Police Department. This is Chad O'Neill. He's a lieutenant. Throughout this presentation, we're going to kind of talk about what the Flock cameras and stuff are, how the City of Stoughton Police Department uses those cameras, what safeguards that we have implemented for our own organization and users. And finally, we're going to show you what actually comes back on a search, as well as the images for the different ALPRs, so you can actually see those firsthand for yourselves. Go ahead. All right, so Flock cameras are owned, the actual cameras themselves are owned by Flock Safety. We entered into a 2-year contract, which was signed in December 25, which will expire in 27. That is a subscription, so therefore it is not a capital expense, I'm sorry, and is, yeah, the play on words, I don't get. And so it's a renewing thing if we obviously just decide to go forward with that decision. There are 2 different types of cameras in the City of Stoughton. We have the automated license plate readers and then pole cameras, which have live video. Once the construction on 51 is completed, we will then have a total of 4 ALPR cameras, like I said, the 1 pole camera. The cameras were installed mid-May. However, we've had the search ability for the ALPR program on Flock Safety since January of 26 when we entered into the contract. The locations of cameras were placed on major roadways throughout the City of Stoughton, as well as high police call volume areas. As Chief Hill just hit on, they're not new to Stoughton, that we've had them since 2019, and we had a squad car with them as well. Sorry, I'm going on my computer. Can you go 2 more? Yep, well, there you go, thank you. All right, so what does the ALPR actually take a picture of? So it is designed to take a picture of a vehicle and or license plate as it passes the location of that fixed pole or camera. It is not designed to take a picture of a person's face. It is not designed for any facial recognition or to identify someone's gender or race. What the camera can do is, again, take a picture of a vehicle and or license plate. It can obtain the possible color, make of that vehicle, or model of that vehicle. The ALPR cameras through Flock do not search the license plate through the Department of Transportation, meaning that if someone drives by that vehicle, it does not take a picture of the vehicle and run to see who is driving that vehicle, or it's not going to run the registered owner to see if they have a valid driver's license or any of that type of thing. The ALPR camera data is secured in a searchable platform through the Flock Safety website and stays in that database for 30 days, at which point it is deleted via a third party. Can you go to the next slide? Alerts. So alerts is basically how the law enforcement or users get notified of a vehicle that is captured on a camera. So essentially, if a stolen vehicle, for example, it gets entered into the system as being entered as stolen, and therefore it gets entered into the NCIC list, and that list gets updated into Flock servers. So if a vehicle drives by that is entered as stolen, it'll alert the Stoughton users, identifying that that stolen vehicle or license plate drove by a camera at a certain place at a certain time where that pole camera is. Just because there's an alert does not mean that any action is taken. Officers will have to find that vehicle or license plate and then verify that that is the correct vehicle or license plate, and that is in fact, if we're talking to say a stolen vehicle, that is in fact still listed as stolen before any action will be taken place, and that is all spelled out in our policy. Next, please. All right, so what do Flock APRs do not do? There's been some miscommunication to the public, and some of these things are what we know they do not do. They do not capture anyone's personal data, name, social security number, date of birth, or addresses. Again, they're designed to take pictures of vehicles and or license plates that pass through the camera. As stated before, they do not run the registration through the Department of Transportation. Flock cameras do not issue traffic citations. They do not have facial recognition in the ALPRs, and they do not continuously track people and their movements. Next, please. You can go. All right, reasons why the Stoughton Police Department would use ALPRs. So this is a tool that helps us, the police department and the community, through either criminal investigations. So if we have a crime that's committed and we have a vehicle or a license plate that's associated with that crime, we're able to try and search to see if that vehicle and or license plate, again, passed a certain location where that camera would be located to help give us investigative leads. It is not going to tell us who was driving that vehicle. It is not going to tell us who committed that crime. It is only going to give us that information of the vehicle or license plate that could be a lead for that investigation. Another major aspect is assisting the community. If we have a missing or endangered child or elderly person or person that is missing, we can enter their vehicle information and or license plate into the system to have it flagged or searched, and therefore we can try and see the last location of that vehicle that would give us a direction of travel, so that way we can help with our search efforts. Next, please. I know there was a lot of questions about what is required for us to do a search. So Stoughton Police Department actually requires the most amount that is possible in the Flock system. We require a case number. So a case number is when a call for service, a case number is automatically generated. This is a case number. That case number is going to stay with that investigation throughout its entirety, and is unique for that actual investigation. You cannot give the same case number twice. We also require a offense type. So what this is going to be is where the user is going to enter the type of call. So whether it be a domestic, a battery, a missing person, a homicide. And then the reason for the search, why is that user searching? That is where they are going to type in the relevance of why they are making that search with those type of things. So after all those three things are completed, the search will be completed. The user must also document for that incident, whether it be in their report, that they used Flock, why they used Flock, as well as what they searched in Flock. Again, as I stated before, they need to verify that any information is before any action can be taken, and all users must comply under our ALPR policy number 426. I want to add also that all users must complete training on Flock's Academy to learn how to use this system, and they have to properly pass those and get those certifications before they are allowed to use the system. Next, please. So this is an image real quick of what a Flock search looks like on their website. I don't know if you guys can see or not, but you can see the different tabs as far as like offense type, case number, reason. So again, those are all required by our police department. Here's where you would enter the license plate if you know it, or if you have a let's say you have my squad car, which we're going to see here in a little bit, is a black Ford. If you know that a black Ford was used, you could, in a crime or as a missing person's vehicle, you could search by black Ford and see if you get any results. Next, please. I've heard a lot of concerns about the misuse of flock and different police departments, and we also understand that, which was by our policy we do monthly audits, and we audit 10% of our searches. So the way that is generated is let's say we have 100 searches. We would take 10 of those searches randomly picked through the through a random number that would give me a case numbers, and I would search those, and I would have to make sure that, one, that the use of the ALPR was warranted, and that the vehicle that was searched had a tie into that case and was a valid reason for that case. If both of those meet that and pass, then the audit would pass, and if they do not, it would involve further investigation. But obviously, further investigation could lead to, if it was found that it was a misuse, it could be discipline, termination, and/or ultimately arresting of the user, as other agencies have had to deal with. We have done January through May audits. Those have all passed. As I stated before, we just got the cameras in May, but we had the searchability to January, so we wanted to make sure that we went all the way back once we started doing audits and made sure that those complied as well. The transparency portal. So this is going to be information that ties directly with Stoughton Police Department and Flock. And what this is going to be is a website that once the City of Stoughton website is once completely remodeled, we will get this website on that. So that way anyone can click on there, and that'll have our policy, it'll have camera data, and other important information that a lot of people requesting information about Flock and Stoughton Police Department will be able to access easily. The ALPR data. So the data is kept on Flock servers for up to 30 days. After that 30 days, it is permanently deleted by the third party. The security for that data is CJIS, which stands for Criminal Justice Information Services compliant. That is the FBI standard and what is used for law enforcement agencies all across the U.S. To the highest standard for information services. The data is owned by Stoughton Police Department, not Flock. The data that data owned is shared, by permission is granted by Stoughton PD. So Flock has a network of users. And when we grant someone access to our network, we are granting access to our data. That is not providing them, that is providing them with the data, that is just allowing them to use our data as a searchable aspect. And then our data is not shared with federal agencies. Next, please. All right, so again, we've only had our cameras installed since May. We've already accumulated a few success stories. I'm not going to read these verbatim for you guys, but the big takeaways is that we had a missing 15-year-old juvenile who had taken their grandparents' vehicle. We had entered them as a missing person, as well as entered their vehicle into Flock. And once doing so, within 14 minutes, that vehicle had passed a Flock camera in Maple Bluff, and officers were able to locate that juvenile and vehicle and get both returned home safely. We had organized crime out of Indiana that was committing felony retail thefts at our Walmart. The Walmart surveillance cameras were unable to capture any suspect vehicle information as far as license plates to help identify an investigative lead. However, with the information provided by the Flock APL camera, we were able to identify that vehicle and ultimately make identification and arrest of multiple suspects. Recently, we had a silver alert with a missing and endangered elderly female. We were able to utilize the ALPR cameras to get a last known direction of travel and date and time as it passed a camera. And ultimately, that female was found in a field just miles from that Flock camera. Just recently, we had a retail theft that was a felony at Walmart, and the cameras aided into that investigation. We learned that that vehicle was a rental. We've done legal process to identify who rented that vehicle, and that subject currently has arrests out for their, or warrants out for their arrest. Next. All right, so the next images that we're going to be showing you are actual images of my squad cars. I drove around the different ALPR locations within the city of Stoughton. We thought it was important to show these because these are actually the images that we're seeing, and this is how we go off our investigative leads. So you can go to the first one, please. So this is my camera coming towards, or sorry, my squad car coming towards one of the cameras. You can see that it's showing the license plate, or that's where it's gathering that information. You cannot see who's driving that vehicle. You cannot tell if that's a male or female. Can't tell their race, anything like that. You can literally just see that it's a black car. You can't see how many passengers are in it or anything like that. Next, please. This is me going the opposite direction. Again, it is an image of my squad car and the license plate, and you cannot tell who else is in that vehicle. This is a different location, again, driving away. I'm just showing you the actual view that you get. Coming back the other direction. This is another location again. We're not able to identify who is driving any vehicle at any given time. That is not how the cameras are designed. And again, the other direction. Thank you.
So that's the presentation part. Other than Rick, the mayor actually had requested you to review our contract with Flock. You've done that. So can you provide input as to any concerns you have, who owns the data, that sort of stuff?
Sure. So, I mean, basically Flock has standard terms and conditions that are available on their website. The terms and conditions are, I guess, explicit that the city owns the data that's collected by these cameras. As was mentioned, that they don't own the cameras, but data is collected and put on AWS servers, stored for 30 days, and then it's deleted. So I guess contract's very clear. The city owns the data and can decide who uses the data. The only sort of use of the data that's allowed by Flock is to help train its systems to improve them. Flock says they don't share the data with anyone unless it's granted permission by the city. They would provide data if there's a valid subpoena for it. So, for instance, if federal government or another law enforcement agency had a subpoena for the data, they would share it under those circumstances. And I think, as the city shares the data with other agencies, obviously you lose some control over that because it's being shared. The city has access to those other agencies that share their data with the city, but basically the city does control who has access to it or what other law enforcement agencies would. As far as like the length of the contract, as was mentioned, it's a 2-year agreement with the option to renew for 36 months. So we're roughly 6 months into it. Term and termination, the standard terms and conditions are basically you can only terminate for cause or for other kind of random things. But basically to get out of this agreement, you would have to non-renew or try to sort of negotiate a termination if that's the direction that the city council wanted to go. But I guess that's just sort of a brief overview of the contract. Happy to answer any other questions there might be about it.
Sure. Did you have anything else you wanted to add?
I just want to kind of end with the why. The reason we did this is we have one task as the police department for the city of Stoughton, and that is to try to keep people safe by preventing crime and solving crime and holding bad actors responsible for the crimes they commit in the city of Stoughton. The decision to use Flock was made because we feel this is a valuable tool for us to use to accomplish those goals. You heard about alerts and how if a vehicle is on a hot list or is a stolen vehicle and it's coming into our city of Stoughton, we get an alert. I can tell you when talk of this started in 2018 and this program started in 2019, there was a rash of people stealing cars in other communities and then using them to further commit crimes in jurisdictions, Stoughton being one of them, kind of surrounding Madison. They were stealing cars and they were doing home invasions, going into open garages. They were stealing additional cars. They were going into people's houses, stealing purses, things like that. We got those first ALPRs. I could go back in time and tell you all sorts of success stories where we got alerted to stolen cars coming into the city of Stoughton, and we were able to either catch the people before they could do any of that sort of stuff or chase them out of the city of Stoughton. I can't tell you how much crime was prevented because of that. And then it also is a tool that we can use to help us identify who's committed crimes in the city of Stoughton and used vehicles to flee our area. So again, why was this done? It was done in the interest of safety. We want to help keep all of the citizens of Stoughton safe, and we felt this is a valuable tool to do so. We continue to feel this is a valuable tool, so I'm going to request that you guys allow us to continue to use flock cameras or ALPR cameras to continue that mission. That's all I've got.
Thank you. And then as far as questions from alders, I'll kind of look at the city attorney on how deep we can go because of the way we have it noticed on the agenda.
Yes, I think it's appropriate to ask questions and get information. As far as like actual decisions tonight, I don't think we have it noticed that way on the agenda, but we can certainly have a follow-up agenda item in the future for it. So, or if there's maybe direction to just have staff look into things further, I think that would be appropriate, but I don't think we have the ability under the open meetings law to take any official action tonight.
Yeah, and my goal was really to have the conversation, get the information out, hear from the public, not rush into any decisions one way or another, and give the alders hopefully the information they need in order to, make a decision one way or another as we go forward on it. So having said that, I would open it up for questions. I'm sure alders have questions. Who'd like to go first? President Schumacher.
Not so much a question, but just an acknowledgement. I want to thank the police department for putting together the presentation based on the system. I also want to thank the citizen members for coming in and sharing your opinions. We are listening.
Alderperson Hirsch.
Of course, I have a number of
I
questions.
kind of knew you would, and we encourage that.
First, well, one, I mirror what Alder Schumacher says. Thank you, citizens, for bringing this to our attention, and for, Police Chief, for giving us this presentation and for all your research. My question is, when we had a contract before that now, the company might be going out of business. My question to you is, are there other companies that we could have a contract with that would just read license plates and not have this third party where the reputation right now with Flock is not good? And for us to build community and making our community feel safe and not being looked at or having any problems with transparency or feelings of fear that they're being watched, I think we really need to seriously look at other companies to make sure that there is another option out there that does not have this third party kind of reach. The second part, it is disconcerting that the third party is supposed to delete the information. We have no guarantee that it is going to be deleting it. Third, even though you have a nice picture of just the license plate, everybody knows in this room you can blow up those pictures and see who's in that car. So that is, kind of misleading too. And one thing that your presentation did not hit on, which I thought was that I would like an answer from is that you say you have one pole camera that is doing live feeds, and I want to know where that camera is and what sorts of information you're getting from these live feeds, because that's concerning as well, as the citizens has also brought up. Again, I'm not trying to be mean. I know you have limited tools and limited contracts are out there, and I know you're trying to do a good job, but we also have to make sure that the decision that we make for contracts are the best for our community. So thank you.
Yeah, I was trying to take notes quick there. I kind of missed the second question, but let's start with, are there other vendors? Yes, there are other companies that provide ALPRs. They're all going to be very similar to Flock. They're private companies. They're in the business of selling their technology and their cameras, or leasing their technology and their cameras. All of them are going to store the data on a cloud-based server. That's the world we live in. Our phone backups are saved on cloud-based servers. Actually, the video of tonight's meeting will be saved on a cloud-based server. That's how it is. For us to be able to store any law enforcement information, privileged information, it's got to be CJIS compliant. There's 3 main servers that provide CJIS compliant storage on a large scale: Google, Microsoft, and AWS, which is Amazon Web Services, AWS. AWS, I know, is who Flock uses. I'm pretty sure Motorola is their main competitor. I believe they also use AWS. By going with a different vendor, you're going to get the same technology, similar storage. I think, honestly, some of similar concerns that were voiced tonight about that. I don't see a huge advantage to going to another vendor. I wouldn't be against it if that's the direction we're given by council. What was your second question?
The deletion of the records, was it?
Live camera was the third one.
Yeah, it's the deletion, but also the deletion of the information, but also the photos you can.
Yes. Yep.
There's still photos you can.
Yep.
You can blow
So,
them up and you can.
Yeah, it's not meant to get the photo of a driver. If the lighting's right, if the angle's right, could we? Absolutely. It's not what we're looking to do. The purpose of the camera is to identify a license plate in a vehicle. Like I said, is it possible? Yes. As far as live feeds, we have one Flock contracted live feed camera that feeds directly to the police department through the same search portals where we can access it. We have numerous other live feed cameras. There's a couple in this room. They're all over the city. Numerous different departments have them. That is not new. That would go way back even the 2018 when we went to the ALPRs. That's a society we live in right now. Private businesses have cameras. Private residences have cameras. And we have pole cameras throughout the city as well.
I guess, so we have this live feed, but you didn't answer the question of what it's taking pictures of and where it's located and how you decided where that location is.
I'm going to be careful in talking about the exact location, because part of the reason we use these cameras is to catch people who don't know the cameras are there, don't know that they're being recorded when they commit crimes or have committed crimes or are about to commit crimes. That live feed camera is pointed at a crosswalk on a street. That street, that block of that street is our second highest call volume area in the city of Stoughton for police calls for service. The street is one of our highest traffic complaint streets. We've had numerous crosswalk violation complaints. It's a crosswalk that is used by numerous juveniles to get to a school area. It also is a bus stop where we've had bus passing complaints. We thought that was a good area to be able to record these sort of things so that when these complaints come in, we can check actual video, get the validity, get the evidence we need to make an enforcement decision.
So are those live feeds, how long do you keep those? And do you own those, or are those also shared with the Flock bigger organization?
Those are not shared outside of Stoughton Police Department, that live feed ability. They're part of the contract, so I believe it'd be the 30 days that they're kept. Cole or Chad, can you talk a little more to that?
Right, yeah, nothing is stored more than 30 days, so whether it be the license plate images or the video. Another point of emphasis I think the chief missed because he's got a lot of things going on is every location is data driven by us, right? Like the camera, the ALPRs are just not randomly put out there. So a big factor in where the live camera is now is that we have one and had two active stalking cases going on at that particular location. So we had two women that were victims of stalking cases, so very important for us, in our opinion, to have real-time observation on if and when that suspect arrived back at their place of residence, because it was a pattern of behavior that was, and one is still inactive, so I'm not going to go into any more than that. So yeah, to get back to the how much, you asked about how do we know that it's deleted? Well, how do we know that anything is deleted, right? Like we run information through, we run it through data, right? So we run it through Wisconsin DOT, but it is on AWS. We know that we can't retrieve any information after 30 days. If we wanted to get a license plate image from 31 days ago, we can't do it. We can't do it with a subpoena. We can't do it with a warrant. We only have a 30-day hard period to collect that specific image if we have it for a case only. So we would have a case, we would download that image and attach it to that specific search, and then we have it. But if it's 31 days or more, we can't retrieve it. AWS can't retrieve it. Flock can't retrieve it.
All right. Anything else? All right. Anybody else have any questions?
Adrian has her hand up online too.
Okay, so we'll. Okay, Alderperson Nino.
Yeah, thank you. And I'm so sorry I couldn't be there in person tonight. Yeah, so first I just want to say, and I will try to keep it short because I am aware of our agenda and notice restrictions, but first I'll just say I do believe that our local police department did engage in this contract with good intent to protect our community and to keep us safe. However, I believe there is a lot more to this than stolen cars and missing persons cases. And I want us to think about the greater risk of, retail theft versus surveillance technology with proven security vulnerabilities. So I just want to throw out there that similar to Alder Hirsch, I would like to see an independent security and ethics audit of alternative options that the council can review alongside this as we are making this decision. Because I think a lot of the problem is actually with the vendor. This is a question for our three officers here tonight, but how do we know for certain that our system is not being used for unauthorized data sharing, especially with federal authorities such as DHS or ICE, when we're only auditing 10% of searches? Even if we were to find a misuse case in which our data was accessed by an unauthorized party, what action would we even take? The damage is already done. And disciplinary action for an internal misuse would be one thing, but legal action for an unauthorized federal use is a whole different ball game. So how do we know for certain? Can you guarantee with 100% certainty that this won't happen? That's my first question.
I guess
and then follow-up question to that, since I'm online, I think it will be tricky to do the back and forth. I do want to know what the termination procedure is. That's probably outlined in our contract. And are there any legal or financial consequences for hardware removal or anything like that that we would need to be aware of?
As far as the 100% guarantee, I would never say I can 100% guarantee pretty much anything. I can say that I'm confident that we are not sharing that information with federal partners. Flock specifically made it possible for us to check or uncheck a box when we signed up with them saying, would you be willing to share your information with federal law enforcement? We did not check that box. We're saying we are not sharing that information with federal law enforcement partners. That's the abilities that we were given, and that's the abilities we took because we knew that that was going to be a concern. As far as getting out of the contract, and I'm going to defer to Attorney Manthe once again on that. He is the one who reviewed it, and he's an attorney.
So as far as termination goes, the only like mechanism for early termination is if there's some sort of breach by Flock. There are a few other reasons that really probably would never apply, but that would be the case for early terminations. There's not really a mechanism for early termination. That doesn't mean if the council directed us to try to end this agreement, we couldn't, try to find some sort of resolution for early termination, whether it would probably involve some sort of buyout, in all honesty, but that's always an option, is just to try to negotiate some sort of resolution in there. But so I guess to answer your question, there's not a great mechanism for early termination. You can non-renew just by providing written notice that we won't be using the 36-month extension. But those are really the avenues for getting out of the agreement.
And I think part two to her question was, would there be any additional costs? I'm not aware of any. Did you see any?
Not for terminating at the end of the agreement. I mean, if we wanted to terminate early, there would probably be additional costs, but I mean, theoretically, you're just buying out the remainder of your contract, so you just pay the money and then be done with it.
Thank you. I just had one, hopefully last question. One of our commenters tonight spoke about Palantir and kind of the mass surveillance that is kind of taking hold globally, that is owned by that company. So this system, Flock has a contract with Palantir, and their system does integrate with Palantir. So these like third-party predictive policing platforms. Is there anything in the contract about that, or how do we know that our system isn't integrated with those tools or not? I don't feel like we can trust this company based on their partnerships and kind of the track record that they've left so far that's been coming to light over the last few months, more in the public eye. So what can you tell me about the AI, the automated policing and AI, this like predictive policing setup? What do we know about our contract and whether or not that's a part of what we've signed on to?
I'm going to defer to Attorney Manthe again as far as the contract goes.
So I guess as far as use by other companies, I mean, the agreement doesn't necessarily speak to that. As I mentioned before, basically the authorized use for Flock is to disclose the data just to provide the Flock services, so like the implementation of the program for the PD. And the other authorized use is customer data to support and improve Flock's products and services. So that's kind of a vague statement, right? But so, does it specifically prohibit use of sharing it with like affiliated businesses that are part of their ownership structure? I guess not expressly, but the data would just be used, well, I say just, but the data under this contract says it would only be used to support and improve Flock's products and services.
Okay, thank you.
All right, anybody else? Alderperson to listen.
Thank you, Mayor, and also a thank you to all the constituents that came out to speak tonight, and for the police department with the nice presentation. I guess this reminds me of, and I was trying to look it up real quick, but back during the pandemic, Ring cameras, and it came out that Ring cameras and the data from Ring cameras was being shared with police departments also, but that was something that users could go in and turn off. I know you've explained to us with that kind of ability, but I guess that comes up to what kind of access does our police department have to Ring cameras also? I mean, it's not AI driven like this Flock system is, but maybe they just don't advertise that those are AI driven software with that. Does that make sense what I'm
Yeah.
Makes sense to me.
First off, as far as the AI stuff, it's difficult, I would say, to find any camera anymore that doesn't use AI. I have Wise cameras at my house. They're like $20 a camera, and you can see it puts the little boxes, like you saw the box around the license plate. I use it to watch my dogs. It'll put the box around the dog when they're moving around because it's tracking movement. That's AI, recognizing movement, tracking it. Almost every camera in this day and age has an AI component to track movements, things like that. Ring used to have what you're talking about is a law enforcement portal where people could say, yep, I'm willing to share all my data all the time with law enforcement. We could then, if the user allowed that, without going and knocking on their door and saying, hey, we see you have a Ring camera, can we see your data? As far as I know, Ring doesn't have that anymore. We haven't been able to do that in some time. So we do use a ton of cameras. We use Ring cameras all the time on cases. We go knocking door to door to door and say, hey, do you have a camera? Or we see a camera. We want to see if it covered the roadway for this crash that happened, things like that. People give us thumb drives. People email us. People give us access to their Ring accounts. We do a ton of video work. That's in this day and age, that's a huge part of what we do is putting together things on video. When we take large cases to the DA's office and eventually to trial, juries want to see video. They understand that our world is full of video cameras, ALPRs, body cameras, things like that. They want to see videos. That's to be able to successfully prosecute crimes, we have to be able to provide them with videos.
So just making sure I understand, we don't have like a direct link to Ring or for Ring cameras?
Cole does the majority of all our large investigations, and he's telling me no.
Thank you, Chief.
Yes.
Anybody else have any questions? Other person?
Can private citizens own these license plate readers, and who stores their data and keeps it?
Private citizens, as far as I know, cannot. Now, businesses can, and then they can access their own data. They can do it. It's their property. So Walmart's always the elephant in the room. If Walmart wanted to put up an ALPR in their parking lot, they could. That would be their data. They could choose to share it with us, much like we can choose who we share stuff with. They could also provide us with, printouts, things like that. They have really good cameras inside their store and outside their store. They give us very similar images and actually video, which is something else we didn't address tonight. But what we're getting from the ALPRs is still images. It's not video. You saw what we get, short of a little line on the bottom that we took out that has location of the camera and a date and a time. So to answer your questions, I don't believe at least Flock would sell to private citizens. They do sell to businesses.
My second question is some of our surrounding communities have had flock cameras and not using them, et cetera, in the news. How many of them are eliminating them in their communities versus eliminating Flock and going with another company?
To be 100% transparent, you would have to ask them. I can tell you the sheriff, who was one of the big ones to kind of start this movement in Dane County, has publicly said they are researching other vendors. They are looking to go to another vendor and to still have ALPRs. I've talked to 2 other chiefs in this area that chose to not renew their contracts. One chief said, I'm not willing to deal with it right now. Didn't want to have to do this sort of thing and try and justify it. They're hoping that it calms down and that they can then get Flock or some other company again. Another chief got overwhelmed by the amount of communications he was getting from the public, open records requests, things like that, and decided to not renew the contract just because it was overwhelming him and his staff in those aspects. Those are the 3 that I can speak to. I don't know for sure some of the other ones.
As far as the network goes, if I can interject here, so the network is so important to us, right? Because if we go to a new vendor that has 6 police departments and has 6 cameras statewide, we can't gather a lot of information that suspect may or may not have went past one of those 6 cameras. Flock has, I think, nearly 250 agencies in Wisconsin that have multiple cameras. So we can have a bigger network to search for where did this suspect go, or where are they coming from, or whatever the case may be, if it's a silver alert vehicle, for example. So a lot of it is about this network. And as you know, Flock has thousands of cameras nationwide that it goes outside of our state lines. So much of what we want from data-wise is important for the network side. So we know there's Motorola and there's other companies that are trying to get in the game. They're just not at this point. And then, you know, going back to the BOSS system, we had just a very limited number of cameras in Wisconsin, and obviously they went out of business, but we weren't getting a whole ton of information from that because the network wasn't as big.
Any other questions or comments from alders? Alderperson Caravello.
Yeah, I just quick also wanted to thank everybody for showing up and for your input and for the presentation. Concerned about the flock can use the data to train their system, kind of like, as you mentioned, Rick, that the definition of what that means, that they can use the data or info to train its systems, a little bit worrying on that one. To Alder Wozniak-Scanlon's question about other communities, I've read that some of them have covered their cameras. And I'm wondering if that was part of with their agreement or their contract, if they couldn't end their contract, and if at some point it was decided that we wanted to not use this system anymore and there were some hurdles to get out of a contract, does covering the camera violate the contract with Flock? I'm just kind of curious, and if you know the answer to that question.
I will defer to Rick. I can tell you in the one instance where I know Dane County Sheriff's Department covered their cameras. It was covered by the news that they covered their cameras. What their county board voted on and decided was to not renew the contract. So it ended, I'm not going to get the exact date, let's call it May 31st. So they had notified Flock, we're not going to renew the contract. Flock didn't take the cameras down right on May 31st. They put in work orders. It takes time. I can tell you, we signed a contract in December. Our cameras finally got put up, just 3 weeks ago. Citizens were unhappy that there was no contract. The camera was still there. Questions whether, is the camera still working? Is it not, even without a contract? Is it taking photos? They made the decision to put bags over the cameras to solve that problem. Now, as far as the contractual stuff is putting the bag over the camera, we lease the camera. My gut says we can do what we want with our leased camera, short of damaging it or something. But I'm going to defer to Rick, who can tell me I'm wrong.
My initial impression is we probably could, as long as we're not damaging it, just because we're leasing the property. So.
Yeah, I would think as long as we paid them, we wouldn't really be in breach.
And again, the data is ours. We would just be hurting our ability to get the data.
All right, are there any other questions? Go ahead.
I have a question of how do we go forward? I guess I would propose that this gets sent to the Public Safety Commission to actually review our contract and potential other high-ranking other options and report back to City Council or something like that. I mean, I'm trying to figure out how to go forward from here. Sure. Because just leaving it as this doesn't sit well. So
Well, look at the chairperson. I think we meet tomorrow. So it would be too late to put it on tomorrow's agenda. It would be either a month out or a special meeting for the committee, which, we'll do whatever the council wants us to do.
Well, I mean, I guess I'd put it out there that within the month, maybe you have a month to collect data, and then you guys meet and then come back to council with what you have figured out, work with the police. I mean, I think we need to move. I mean, we have enough citizens here that have concerns, and I think we need to do our due diligence and try to find alternatives if there are any. And not to take tools away from you, but to try to figure out if this is the best tool for our community at this time. And
one other point that you reminded me that we didn't really hit on, we're in the process, the city right now, of switching over website stuff. Hopefully by the end of the week, we're working on it. We're going to have our contract with Flock on the police department website for other people to review, citizens to review. We're also going to put our policy on ALPRs and those cameras on the website for citizens, for alders to review. That all is going to be public as soon as we can navigate this whole, we got a brand new website last week, and how to add these items to it. So it'll be available to everybody, as well as alders.
Thank you for that forward thinking and getting it out there. Thank you.
Yeah, and I would say that if any alders or even citizen members have any more questions or concerns that weren't brought up tonight, you know, you can send them my way, or alders, you can send them to chief, or we can, you know, be able to address them at that committee meeting. And certainly the public is welcome to attend the committee meetings as well, and that would leave it up to the chair on how she would want that to look. It's typically similar where public comment or some feedback, or if you want to provide something ahead of time. But I think we got some really good feedback tonight. There's definitely some themes there. Gives us something to work with. But if there's something that nobody touched on tonight and you get home and you think about it, feel free to shoot me an email. I'll make sure it gets to the chief and it gets to the committee chair, and we can make that part of the conversation.
Thank you all.
Thank you. All right. So we'll give you a minute, yeah, if you want to take off. We just ask you don't hang out in the hallway because the background noise will be disruptive for the meeting. Thank you for being here.
Mayor, did you want to do the audit report with the audit item?
Sure.
Or do it separately?
Whatever you want to do. Is that next?
It's the second one after the first reading.
Okay. That won't take long to get to that. Okay. Are there, we're still on communications and presentations. Are there any communications from alders? All right, go ahead.
I'm not doing my historic presentation of fact tonight. I'm working on a bigger data project that you saw a glimpse of in the last meeting, so more of that to come, but it's taking me a little bit longer to get the coding right on it.
Sure.
I know you're working on a new website.
Yep.
But I found the packet really unbearable. The font is horrible, and instead of just being able to scroll through, you have to open up a gazillion tabs to read each thing independently. It's not as user-friendly as what we've been having. And second thing is, utilities is not, again, on our website for packets.
So we need a utilities link, and then I'll have to talk to IT as far as what they can do to make it more user-friendly. I notice it's different for me too. I can't arrow to the next document.
Right, and I mean, when I was reading it today, I had like 20 tabs open because you have to click on each one as opposed to just being able to scroll through.
All
I
right.
mean, it's just my thing, but it's just, it takes a lot. It's not as easy to read.
No, but we need the feedback.
I think the font is very difficult to read.
Okay.
And I also I'm not an Android user outside of here, and I'm not exactly sure, like now I get a meeting link and then I get a separate link that I can get into the packet with. I just, when we change technology, I wish that we got a little bit more education as to what's going on.
Okay.
And how to use it.
Fair enough. Okay, any other communications from alders? Okay, we'll move into the agenda. First item is the consent agenda. I would entertain a motion for the consent agenda approval.
Tilson, move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Reeves. Would anybody like anything acted on separately? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any opposed? That motion carries. There's no old business. New business, we have a first reading from the Plan Commission. Alderperson Caravello.
And this one is, as you said, a first reading of Ordinance 13 of 2026, annexing certain city and Wisconsin Department of Transportation owned property located within the town of Pleasant Springs. And this is for parcel located along Williams Drive in Pleasant Springs that the city purchased in February of this year. And information's in the packet, and basically DOT and the city have come to the conclusion that this is in the best interest of the city to annex this property.
All right, anything you want to add?
So the Department of Administration did review the annexation. They have to basically determine it's in the public interest. They have provided that opinion that the annexation would be in the public interest. And so this is the 27 acres that the city bought back in February. And the DOT has signed on to the annexation petition, which I've never seen them do, so that's astonishing, frankly. But the town of Pleasant Springs asked that we include this, or at least the town chair. When I talked to their attorney, that was the request, was to include the DOT railroad right-of-way in the annexation. But basically to provide sewer service and develop the property for potential future public service, public safety building, or potential utility building. It's best to have it in the city. And there are zoning designations for the property. So the southern parcel is zoned rural holding, and the northern parcel would be zoned institutional, which would allow for the city's uses. I don't recall the rural holding, but basically if the city were to sell off the rural holding property and for redevelopment for some other user, they would have to come back and get a rezone.
Okay. Anybody have any questions on this? It's a first reading, it'll come back. If something comes up, just let us know. We'll get you some answers. We'll move on to R96, which is the audit report and management letter. This came from finance. We have a guest here. Come on up.
Hello, thank you for your time this evening. My name's Andrea Jansen with Baker Tilly. Are you going to share the 2025 highlights?
Yeah.
Would you like me to cover those?
Sure. I mean,
Just a short version.
yeah. You want to share or you want me to share? All right. Probably be more efficient that way.
I'll mention while that is getting pulled up, we were able to issue an unmodified opinion. The independent auditor's report is included at the beginning of the financial statement, so that's otherwise known as a clean opinion, or the highest level of assurance that we're able to give, and that's consistent with prior years. And I can just briefly cover these financial highlights. On page 1, we are looking at your general fund results for the year compared to the prior year. Your total general fund balance increased about $530,000 this year. That was better than your plan in your final budget, which was planned for a net loss of about $350,000. So that is good news. You have unassigned fund balance on the next page of about $4.1 million compared to your general fund expenses, giving you a ratio of 31.7%. So compared to your policy, you're slightly above your range, with the top end of the range at 25%. That's an increase from the prior year, kind of in line with what we've got mapped out there for comparative metrics for other municipalities in Wisconsin of your size. Really healthy fund balance. You could choose to spend some of that down in 2027 or make additional assignments in 2026 if you wanted to bring that back down to your policy range. The next page is taking a look at your general obligation debt outstanding compared to your state statutory debt limit, which is that top line in black. You're at 50% of your state statutory debt limit at the end of the year. Your general obligation debt outstanding is about 53.4 million at the end of the year, which is up from prior year. Just a couple notes below the chart, a portion of your general obligation debt relates to utility funds. That's about 4.2 million, and the rest relates to your city funds. And then your utilities also have revenue debt that's not factored into the chart above, or your state statutory debt limit of about 9.8, since that will not be funded with levy dollars. And then the last financial metric here, we're looking at what you're spending on principal and interest compared to non-capital expenditures, all in your governmental funds. So this excludes those utility funds. And you get a ratio of 28.1% at the end of the year, up from prior year. But I guess my comment here would be, as long as that is in line with your long-range plans and your capital plans, and you're sort of taking a holistic view, no concerns there from my perspective. So happy to answer any questions on either the highlights or any of the formal reports. And again, a thank you to Nicole Marie and the city's finance team for their assistance with the audit process.
All right, thank you. Are there any questions or comments? Otherwise, I'd turn it over to Alderperson Butler for the action. It's went through the finance committee.
Yep. All right, if there are no questions, then this is R96 of 2026, authorizing and directing the proper city officials to acknowledge receipt of the City of Stoughton 2025 audit report and management letter, and I so move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Wozniak Scanlon. All right, and was there any questions or comments? Sounds like we're in pretty good shape. No questions. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
And any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Thanks for your patience tonight, too. Yeah.
Move item 10 to the end, because that's the one with the closed session.
Okay, so,
Go to 11 next.
so would you say 9 or?
10, we're going to move to the end.
Oh,
Yeah, move the potential closed session to the
okay,
end
I
of the
get
meeting,
it.
and then.
So we're going to R98 next?
Yep.
Correct.
Okay, that one comes from Finance Committee.
Yep, this is R98 of 2026, a resolution approving assignment of rail spur easement, and I so move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by President Schumacher, Alderperson Butler.
This is something that had come up before in previous councils relating to a rail spur that is in the business park or industrial park, and I will defer to who wanted to speak to it?
I can take
okay,
this.
Perfect. Rick.
So this rail spur has existed for a very long time. Nobody quite knew who owned it. And so we looked at some property records. Gary Becker had done some research, and it looked like there was some Stoughton Development Corporation created by the city back in the 1970s that all the headlines said that they owned it, but there was no actual record that said they owned it. Property records say like an easement granted to the other users of the rail spur. There are some property records that show the city of Stoughton has an easement over the rail spur. So it's just sort of very clouded ownership overall. So what this does is assign any and all rights that the city has in this easement to B&G Foods, and they want to continue to use the rail spur. They are investing a significant amount of money to make improvements to it. I believe they started this week on some of the portions of the track that are just coming off of that WSOR line. So they would like to make these improvements because they want to continue using it, and they have some future plans for expanded potential use. So they're in agreement to accept this easement and then make all the necessary improvements. So basically it gets this off of our liability and no longer our responsibility to have any sort of maintenance or control or anything involving the easement.
Okay. Alderperson Hirsch.
I mean, it's great that it's off our rolls and it's on B&G Foods, but is there any other company that would like to use that spur, and now that it's gone to a private entity as opposed to a public entity, how is that going to be kind of regulated or whatever, so that people have access to the spur? Or is that just a done deal that only B&G Foods is going to be actually able to use it?
So like I said, that ownership interests on the spur itself are murky, because the track that comes right off of the main line, the easement just says to the end users. The city of Stoughton has a specific easement over the B&G Foods property. I think Zach Josephs may have had some conversations about potential use. I don't know if those have gone anywhere. But basically what this is saying is if we have any rights in this easement, we are giving them to B&G. So I guess to your point, if there's a user beyond B&G Foods that would like to use the rail spur, they will have to negotiate with B&G for the easement to access that, which if the city were to own it, we would essentially be doing the same thing, where we would want to have payments made to us to cover our costs of maintaining and improving the track. I guess my understanding is B&G has been doing this for decades, honestly, is maintaining the track because they thought it was theirs to begin with. So the city hasn't put any money into the rail spur. It's just something that B&G was doing because they thought it was theirs.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And any opposed? That motion carries. Let's see, item 11, 12. Why are my numbers off here? All right.
The numbers on the paper version differ from online because online has an extra number for old business.
Oh, okay. That teaches me to print it out on paper. All right, so item number 12. Yep.
This is R99 of 2026, approving a land swap between the City of Stoughton and Stoughton Utilities for the siting of Stoughton Utilities' new headquarters, and I so move.
Second, Tilson.
Second by Tilson, Alderperson Butler.
And this is a land swap between Williams Drive and Macomb Road. Equal acreage, same size. I don't know, Adam, if you want to touch on it.
Yeah, you're exactly right. It's a non-cash transaction. There's no cash changing hands. I did want to point out one thing. In the resolution, there lists two land values, one for the Williams Drive property, one for the Macomb Road property. A question did come up where those came from. Those were the actual cash paid values at the time those land was acquired, and we were advised both on the city's side and to the side by Baker Tilly, our auditors, that you cannot use the present day value of the land. You must use the actual cash value paid when those journal entries are made in the city's and the utilities finance books. So that's why those numbers, there's a difference there, even though the acreage is the same.
Okay, thank you for that.
Yeah, thank you for that explanation, because I was looking at the Macomb site and go, wait a minute. When we looked at it, utilities, the fair market value was 500 and something. And right, and I was like, how did we just lose $200,000? So thank you for explaining that, because I was like, wait, because I said that to Rick, I'm like, what's going on?
Yeah, that's a good catch.
Instead of acreage, it was in Bitcoin, so.
Is that still a thing?
It is.
All right, any other questions or comments or clarification needed on this?
And I'll just interject because I'd love to talk tonight, I guess. So honestly, like the ownership is, for both properties, it's currently in the name of the city on GIS. So, I mean, this is basically an accounting mechanism is my understanding. So the actual like ownership, because the city owns Stoughton Utilities, so it's basically Utilities has very special accounting rules, and that's why we have to sort of go through this process of the land transfer.
Yeah. Okay. And in case you haven't followed, you could certainly go to the utilities website to find the packet from the last meeting.
You can find the utilities website, because you can't find it on the city website.
There is, kind of an outline that Adam put together as far as the timetable of what we're looking at. I don't know if you want to highlight anything quick, as long as everybody's here, just a quick update.
Hey, we're hoping to apply to the PSC for approval here late summer, early fall, approximately a 9 to 12 month PSC review process. Once that approved, we'll put it out to bid, and then construction should take about 1.5 years after that.
Yeah, and there's some construction plans on there as well. So if that's something that interests anybody, you can certainly, you might have to look a little bit, but the information is there. It's on the utilities. Just go to Stoughton Utilities and go under the last packet and you'll see it there. Otherwise, if you can't find it, let me know and I'll send you a link. Any questions or comments on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
And any opposed? That motion carries. All right, so that takes us to the R97. Is that where we're at?
Yep.
Okay. That one was at finance earlier today. We can get a motion on the table and then figure out what we want to do.
Yep, this is our 97 of 2026 resolution by the Common Council of the City of Stoughton approving tax increment financing development agreement with J.T. Klein, and I so move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alderperson Reeves, Alderperson Butler.
I am just going to defer right to Rick.
All right.
It's his night.
Yeah. So this spans quite some time. So JT Klein applied for TIF maybe 18 months ago. So we had the city engaged with Ellers to perform a financial analysis to determine if there was a gap in their financing. So this is for approximately 120 affordable housing units. So they've applied for tax credits and they've been awarded tax credits for the project. We did have like a term sheet with them a year ago maybe, and things sort of fell by the wayside because they were applying for their tax credits and they basically needed their financing sources secured before they could move forward with their tax credit application. So they've been awarded the funds that they were seeking. So the financials of the deal are in line with what the original direction we received from the council was as far as the top end future value TIF amount. They've technically lost a year to generate that amount, but if there's a shortfall, we're not making up the payment. This is a pay-as-you-go TIF, so they will only get paid out of whatever real estate taxes are generated and paid by their property. So they would get 95% of that over the life of the tax increment district. So if the district closes and they haven't been paid the full 5.37 million, they don't, get the difference in that. There's also a look back involved. So at financial closing, the Ellers will run another analysis to determine if the gap is still the same. So if they've got additional funding sources or they've cut significant costs, then the future value amount would be adjusted by 1.63, which is sort of a number that we kind of back calculated, or Ellers back calculated. But so there's the look back provision. As far as like the project status, they applied for a CUP over a year ago. They were granted the CUP for the project because they needed it to do the 120 units. I believe the CUP has lapsed at this point, so they will be reapplying. So they're currently going through the planning process of that. But that was previously approved, but we're obviously here tonight with the TIF portion of it.
Yeah, and at finance, we didn't feel a need to go into closed session, but you certainly can if there's anything specific that you want to talk about. I'm not sure what that would be.
Yes, like I said, the financial terms are consistent with what was the direction we received, again, quite some time ago. And Ellers has looked over this agreement. They don't feel comfortable with, like I said, I don't want to put words in their mouth, but it's in line with what the deal was and the sort of the look back and the financials that we had been directed to put an agreement together for.
Okay. Any questions or comments?
Yeah, I mean, I was talking to Rick before this meeting too. it would have been nice to have in this packet what they're proposing to build. I know that we've discussed it multiple times, but I don't know if things have changed, and they used to have kind of renderings of what they're planning to build, but that's not in here. So I'm saying, well, we're going to give them $5.3 million, and we have no idea what it's actually going to look like, and how many, you said 120 units. Are they all workforce housing, or are they part housing? I mean, none of that information that I saw was in this, so I don't know how to really vote on this when I don't have enough information to make a informed decision.
Yeah, I can tell you that there's been some conversations about making some changes. Whether or not those changes are relevant to this decision, I'm not really sure. I guess I'd look at Rick for that. But certainly, if there are changes that need to be made, they have to be approved. They're planning on being at the Plan Commission next month with whatever it is they're proposing. Chris is kind of going back and forth with their architect right now, similar to with Alexander, kind of the back and forth. And
But at least we then knew what they were planning before we came with the TIF request. We had like some renderings. It would have just been nice to have it in the packet, a little bit more information on what we're getting for this TIF amount. Is it paying for the public improvements? Is it paying for, what is it actually paying for? For the building itself, again, is it all workforce housing? Is it 100% workforce housing? Is it
I would say
partial?
it's probably whatever we approved in the developers agreement,
So
unless that changes.
So the site itself is shovel ready, so there aren't any like public improvements or anything like that. The makeup of the units, it's workforce housing and 55 and older. I don't know the specific numbers.
Yeah, that's something they're working with WIDA on.
So I guess if the council wanted to, we could find the most recent plans and provide them, or if you wanted to wait until they have their most current plans updated. Because the CUP that was approved, it has lapsed, so they will have to reapply. Approval of this agreement doesn't guarantee them approval of the CUP or their other zoning permits, but if you wanted to have those track on a parallel path, that could certainly be done. I don't know necessarily what their timeline is. They, as far as like their financial closing. So, we could talk to them and certainly see if we can get.
They've indicated
renderings.
they want to start building in October or November. So, I mean, there's time. I mean, we don't have to rush into anything if you're not comfortable.
Well, I'm just one elder person,
Well,
but I personally would like a little bit more information to understand. Yeah, we found a gap, but I have no idea what they're actually building. And workforce housing, there's so many different levels, or is it, 20% of, the income? Is it 50%? I mean, a little bit more information so I can feel good going to our community going, this is great, we're going to give this, and this is the workforce housing, and this is, because even Alexander said this is the cost of what we're projecting for the apartments and all that kind of stuff. And that's just me. I just like more information.
Okay. Anybody else have any thoughts about that? Go ahead.
Knowing that their CUP has lapsed and that they have to reapply for it and that they are considering changes in there, and if we don't have to rush in making this one, then I don't see any point to make a vote to forward this until we have the rest of the information filled in.
And so if the rest of you feel that way, I would entertain a motion to postpone.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, any discussion? hearing, do I need anything more than that on the motion, or is that vague enough for you?
Yeah, I mean, there's not like a specific time that it's postponed to, so I guess the understanding is we would bring this back when we have more information. Either the developer is here to present on it, or it comes with the CUP. We'll, I guess, just make that judgment call.
Okay.
I'd say at a bare minimum for what we see at Plan Commission.
All right, any discussion on that? Hearing none, all in favor to postpone, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. I think that's all we had, right? Yep. All right, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second?
So is Jensen and Caravello? Yep. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? Motion carries at 8:59. Thank you.